Greetings. Welcome back, everybody. We have a new session of Science is the New Religion with Michael in Germany today on the Saturday, June 19th. This is our second session of the day. And wow, Michael, I'm ready to get into this script you wrote. Apparently, was this a German script you did as well, or is this exclusively English, Michael?
Hello, Brett. Hello, dear listeners. No, it's exclusively English, but it incorporates also German things which I did not find in English, because I just simply lack the time to do it in both languages.
It's very unique, I think that
Michael. Yeah, and the majority of people, they know English, and the minority of people are knowing German and are being understanding German. So I think it's far better to spread out the thing in English, because you see that spares me a lot of time, and I'm so busy with many things also in this material world at the moment. So this is session 11 in English exclusively.
Session 11 in German, yeah.
In 11, yes. Yeah,
yes.
Correct. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I did learn my very raw basics in junior high school, but that's it, you know.
Okay.
Nothing elaborate or anything. But certainly, if I were to visit Germany, I would have to really work on my German, you know. And that probably would have been a lot better if it would have been 20 years ago. Get a jump on it, you know, because now
I reckon that,
yeah, getting a little late in life to be learning a new language. But anyway, Michael, we're not here to talk about linguistics. We're here to talk about science is the new religion, you know, this spiritual supremacy that has made its way into the material world.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
Very fascinating topic, by the way.
We were talking about Uruk, the priest king, the naked priest king, by example, and
back to
also
Babylon, yes.
Yeah, and also that the Pontifex Maximus was a traditional Roman title, which was been giving to Julius Caesar and his followers, and then later on were being used again by the Roman Catholic Church, by their bishops, and then the Pope arrived with his claim of being the supreme ruler of the world, the successor of the apostles, it's a claim, and also of being infallible and being the Antichrist. So, not in their understanding, not the opponent of Christ, but help me out, Brett, the
replacement of Christ.
Replacement, yeah, correct, of Christ. And so, because you see, the Pontifex Maximus means the supreme bridge builder between heaven and earth. Okay. So, what about all these ancient rites and ancient traditions, ancient religion? Because you see that when they're in Europe already, more than 3,000 years before Christ, they worshipped the priest king, then it's more likely that they have worshipped much pagan gods, or many pagan gods, in the ancient times. And in my understanding and my experience, they are all interchangeable. But if you start from the beginning, yeah, we have to go down back, to Babylon in the Bible, or back to Mesopotamia in general. Yeah, because they have also already their temples, and they have already their worships and their rites and all the stuff, and they were just looking out for the supreme beings, so to say. And I just followed down that road, and you see, the first thing which came up in my mind is, there was a famous so-called deity, a pagan deity, not only in Europe, but with other names in other areas of the world. Which means that when we have left the Garden of Eden, one of the first civilizations started out in Europe, so in Mesopotamia, so in the land between the two rivers, east of Eden, for the Bible reference. Okay, so let's.
That's the title to Richard Bennett's book, by the way, East of Eden. I just received that book the other day.
Okay.
And I think that's a really important thing to address is Richard Bennett's work, because he has been very instrumental in teaching the roots of the problem. Yep, there it is. Second one on the left. Yeah, There you go. That's it. Yeah, dear Richard Bennett, he just recently passed away. And what better to do than to promote his work? And he has many YouTube videos and many different interviews as well. And he actually helped different authors write their books as well. One of them being, who was it now? The book "The Woman Rides the Beast" by David Hunt, according to the testimony of Daryl Eberhart. Richard Bennett actually took a lot of time to help him write that book, and I guess it makes sense because I guess there's a lot of contradictions, because guess what? He was a dispensationalist, I believe, David Hunt. So dispensationalism is a major problem, and if you don't know about the problem, then it's very difficult to sort out that eschatology. So I think at some point, Michael, I'm going to address that on my channel. Found a wonderful article on that topic. But anyway, back to what you're talking about, Michael, is, I got a little off track there.
No, we just spoke of pagan deities and that people wanted to worship.
Oh, yes, East of Eden, yes.
A multitude of gods for every purpose. Yeah, that's like having a saint for every day of the year. You see that majority does not mean quality. Yeah, it's just a multitude, just means a mix up of everything. And in ancient times, these pagan deities were worshipped in this culture or in another culture. And you see, they have different names, but actually they mean the same. They mean it's a distraction from the real faith. Yeah. So, and this we will start on this episode with the new one, and I found a very prominent one when we start with Uruk in Mesopotamia. Look at this, Ishtar, or etc. Because you see, it's just the name of something which did not exist. The name Ishtar occurs as an element in personal names from both the pre-Sargonic and post-Sargonic areas in Akkad, Assyria, and Babylonia. It is of Semitic derivation and is probably etymologically related to the name of the West Semitic god Altar, who is mentioned in later inscriptions from Ugarit and southern Arabia. So it is quite broad, spreading from Arabia to Iraq to Assyria and back again. The morning star may have been conceived, this is Wikipedia, may have been conceived as a male deity who presides over the art of war. Oh, great. So there is a morning star and it has been seen as a ruler of war. Interesting. What does the Bible say about the morning star in Revelation 22, Brett?
Oh, yes. That's interesting. What does it say? It says, Revelation 22, verse 16, I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, the bright and morning star, Michael.
So there are several people or several or deities and pagan belief systems who are claiming that the morning star has some significance, I'd say. So what is the
you're
morning?
Absolutely right. There's a lot of confusion, and then you add to that the perversions and the misrepresentation of Scripture, and we're in a load of trouble, Michael.
yeah, we're in a lot of trouble because you see that Ishtar is exchangeable. You see it has other names in other regions of the world. And it is just a very old pagan cult. And you see, being the morning star or being a star in this world means actually angels. So stars are angels in the Revelations.
And not only in Revelation, but in history.
Yeah. So what does that mean? I am the bright and morning star. I'm the bright and morning angel.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, huh? That also angel has been quoted here in that context. Yeah. So it is very interesting that Jesus Christ claims to be everything. He's the offspring of David. He's the bright and morning star. So there is no other title which could be given to any pagan deity, so-called pagan deity. But in ancient times, they have watched the stars, or they have watched the sky, the so-called heaven. We know there are several heavens, but they have watched at the visible heaven, and they said that, oh, this brightest star must be the supreme star. Yeah. So the supreme star must be the one who's ruling all others. He's supreme. He's the brightest. Yeah. Interesting that in American or in English, I think that if somebody is very clever, you see that, oh, he's a bright. He's a bright guy. Isn't that so, Brad, that the bright also means clever?
Sure.
Yeah. Interesting. So, and the evening star in paganism. The evening star may have been conceived as a female deity who presided over the arts of love. Interesting enough is that I think that's far too fetched here. That the so-called the planet Venus in Roman deityism can occur as morning star and evening star at the same time. Interesting, huh? One is war and one is love. Interesting. Huh. But you see that we are going into a bunch of, it's opening a can of worms here, because you see that everybody will be totally confused by all the names in all the regions of the world. So let's face it, that Ishtar is just a proposition of a name, which is quite useful, because I have picked out Ishtar because the majority of people will know Ishtar. Let's find out. So it was among the Assyrians and the Babylonians. And as we know that the first kingdoms were in Mesopotamia, the first civilization of the earth. This is backed up by so-called worldly science. They have found then remains of temples, etc. in Europe. And this is in Mesopotamia. Yeah, there's no question about it. So these people have worshipped this female deity Ishtar as being the morning star, or being the glory, or being a goddess, or being what else. Yeah, so they have worshipped Ishtar. So now the confusion starts. You see that Satan is the master of confusion. Yeah, so he wants to divide and conquer. So he wants to divide the people. People once says, "Oh no, it's called Ishtar. You are such a fool. You have no idea. You have no education." And people number two says, "Oh, you're the loony. You're the what else? It's called Inanna." You see, there the confusion already starts, because two people actually mean the same thing, but they get into an argument and they don't realize, they don't realize that it is a futile argument, because they're speaking both of something which did not exist and does not exist and will not exist. So the deity remained as female, although her name was in the masculine form. And you see that if a god is a deity, if they are worshipping a deity, the deity does not usually have a physical body. Okay? So confusion everywhere. Dialect confusions, language confusions, and variations. Sometimes male, sometimes female, sometimes with and sometimes without child, and sometimes with this and sometimes with that. You know, you get the picture. For example, Ashtoreth, the moon goddess of the Phoenicians, representing the passive principle in nature, their principal female deity, frequently associated with the name of Baal. Now we have it in the Bible. The sun god, the chief male deity. You know now why the sun worship is Baal worship.
And you know what is the opposition of man? It's woman. And what is the opposition of sun god? It's moon goddess. It's very simple. This name often occurs in the plural, Ashtaroth, Baalim, probably as indicating either different statues or different modifications of the deities. This deity is spoken of as Ashtoreth of the Zidonians. She was the Ishtar of the Akkadians and the Astarte of the Greeks. There was a temple of this goddess among the Philistines in the time of Saul. Under the name of Ishtar, she was quote unquote, one of the great deities of the Assyrians. The Phoenicians called her Astarte. Solomon introduced the worship of this idol in 1 Kings 11. Jezebel's 400 priests were probably employed in his service, quote unquote, 1 Kings 18. It was called the Queen of Heaven, quote unquote. Is this enough of names, or do you need even more? You see, where the confusion starts is that people worship dead idols. And the confusion starts that people look up into something which is not of God, of the creator God. Yeah, they want some excuses and they want some replacements. They don't want to follow the commandments which God gave to the Israelites. Yeah? You see it here in the Bible. It has been copied from the King James Bible, Brett. In the 1 Kings 11:5, you see Ashtoreth. Yeah, and even, and now it gets very weird in many episodes, many sessions of the script, which contains at the moment 3,000 and more pages, and we're on page 173. Just for the warning. Even Solomon, who was depicted in the Bible as the wisest man on earth, he went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Where is Romans 1:22 when you need that verse? Professing to be wise, they became fools. And people actually really think that Solomon was that wise. The Bible speaks of that Solomon was a wise judge, yeah. But he himself went after pagan gods, and not only one.
And how did that happen, Michael?
Oh, you will see in a later session, I think, that you will see. I think
it's pretty simple, actually.
It is very simple, yes.
Yeah, it is. It's very
actually,
simple.
It refers back to the Garden of Eden.
Yes.
Everything refers back to the Garden of Eden. Everything get back to the start. You see that if you're struggling and you're doing a 100-meter sprint, and if you're struggling at 30 meters, you go back to start and have to run again.
Sure.
Yeah. Go back to the start, go back to the foundation. You don't start a house with the roof for the good view. You started with a solid basement, a solid foundation. Jesus Christ spoke about that extensively. And in 1 Kings 11, chapter 11, it speaks again of worshipping Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon. Yeah, and that is God speaking here. He said, because they have forsaken me, and then they have worshipped these god and so-called goddesses, and have not walked in my ways to do that which is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgment as did David his father. It's an abomination to worship. You see, that's the first commandments. I am the God which helped you out of captivity. There shall be no others, or something like that. I cannot recall in English, because I know it in German, but I cannot do it in English. But of course, it's been in the second book of Moses in German, Exodus in English. Sorry, but I have to switch thinking back again to English now. Yeah. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Yeah, what did Solomon do? Solomon went after Ashtoreth and after Milcom and after Chemosh. Yeah? First commandment, thou shalt have no other God before me. Yeah, and you see here in the 2 Kings, would you like to read it, Brad? Sorry, I didn't want to.
Sure. And the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the Mount of Corruption, which Solomon the king of Israel had builded for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Zidonians, and for Shamash, the abomination of the Moabites, and for Milcom, the abomination of the children of Ammon, did the king defile.
Yeah, you see that it tells you about 3 pagan goddesses. And the first commandment has been said that thou shalt have no other gods before me. So, if we consider that the majority, the great majority, is falling for images and idols, which is, for example, it's also quite logical. It's the next commandment, huh, Brett?
Yeah, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth.
Yeah.
Thou shalt not bow thyself down to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord, thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children. Yes, that's us, unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
Yeah, right. Sure. And what do you think here? What happened? What happened? People go with the flow and go with society and wanted to be popular, and for several reasons, and we know very exactly why Solomon did that. But that's in a later episode. Let's go back to the point that the Bible speaks explicitly of Ashtoreth, which is a derivation, variation of Ishtar. You see that you can go in several names. It's dead idols. Yeah, they are dead idols. They do not exist. They cannot do anything. Okay, so in the Europe period, in the first civilization, yeah, they have discovered artifacts. For example, this vase, yeah, depicting votive offerings to Inanna. Yeah, look at the timeline here. This is way before the flood, Brad. Way before the flood. And here speaks about Inanna. Okay. So Ishtar, Ashtoreth, yeah, it's every time the same. So you don't have to know everything about Inanna and then the variations, and you see that all these, this is fantasy, this is fiction, this is fairy tales. Yeah, nobody.
It says here that votive means consecrated in fulfillment of a vow. So yeah. What does the Bible say? That we should not be taking oaths, right? So, yeah, when you make a covenant with other gods, what do you expect is going to happen, huh?
Yeah. Occult objects of Europe 3 period. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you like that.
Yeah, no. Depicts of a row of naked men carrying various objects, including bowls, vessels, and basket of farm products, and bringing sheep and goats to a female figure facing the ruler. Interesting, huh? Farm products and animals, no? Yeah, very, very, very similar, no? And
yes.
And also a row of naked men. We will go into that much later on. Didn't we do in the last session that there was a naked priest king from Europe, where people have been worshipped? Why are they worshipping, and why are the people are naked there? It has nothing to do with the heat or with the weather conditions. Yeah, you see, this is here. This is in that regard interesting. This is a period until 2350 before Christ. Is very interesting because, for example, Mr. Usher has calculated that the Great Flood happened in about 2350 before Christ. Huh? So that would line up. Okay. with the extinction of all life except 8 people on the Noah's Ark.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So much for it makes absolutely sense, this timeline. Okay, so it's a cult, so it's a religious worship, and there are several. And this is a king N, and this is a mistress, and this is a king of a king, and this is a fellowship of the yeah. You see, you can go in everything, and there are people at the Oriental Institute, which we have been mentioned a few sessions ago, who are very profound in any ancient things and ancient scientists and something like that. We don't want to go into that subject again. But once again, ring posts of Inanna on each side of a temple door. Each side of a temple door means 2 columns, yeah, which means the entrance to a temple. That's what I was telling about the World Trade Center. Once again, why did they build a World Trade Center with a north and a south tower? You're not familiar with my thoughts, Brad, but just to point it out, you see that why it is so that the World Trade Center 7 was crumbling down. You see that can it be that is also some religious side of this World Trade Center that we do not know about? Because 2 towers means 2 pillars, means the entrance of a temple. Wouldn't it be more cost effective to have 1 World Trade Center as it is now, to build on the ground, and don't come with sediments and with stabilization and with artifacts and something like that? You see that I think that just from the beginning the World Trade Center was doomed, if you would like to have that kind of explanation. But you see that World Trade Center, yeah,
it was created for a purpose, and that purpose was manifest in what happened 20 years ago.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's not that simple, actually, because you're dealing with the Rockefellers, who are just like the Rothschilds. They're guardians of the Vatican treasure.
Yeah, like sure. But you have 2 pillars here, or 2 columns, or 2 obelisks. Yeah. What else you would like to see in that? But 2 pillars means the entrance of a temple. This is a complex. And
wasn't there a movie, Lord of the Rings or something? Two towers that came
2 towers, yeah, but they were apart. Yeah, that was
no, but I mean, just the title of the movie coming out at the same time of the World Trade Center collapse. You know, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was not the only thing. People usually refer to the World Trade Center 1 and 2, but many people forget that the World Trade Center 7 also fell in like free fall, and from the center, which happens to usually suggest that there was a controlled demolition, and that was not the only building which was crumbled down. What the majority did not see is that there was a 4th building, even on that 9/11, which was severely damaged and had to get rid of. And this is the one between the towers. That's the Marriott Hotel. So when I did a Lady Gaga session and she's coming from New York, I asked the question that, well, it's interesting that she stayed in New York at that day, as many other people also do, and there was a warning to several high employees and people in leading positions that they shall not use the World Trade Center on that special morning. And isn't it interesting that the hotel also was affected? If these pillars are being as to be sacrificed, or a temple complex, then there must be an entrance, and there is building 7. 7 means also a heavenly number or divine number, and there is a Marriott Hotel which had an entrance to the towers. So if you look from that spiritual context, you see that it would be much more sense to build 2 separate towers than 1 World Trade Center, what you got now since a few years. 1 World Trade Center. Yeah, now you have 1 World Trade Center, and with a mirror reflecting as above so below, and yeah,
pyramids and everywhere. Okay, just let's go back. So each side of a temple door with a naked devotee offering libations. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You also have the two columns in Freemasonry or whatever.
Sure.
Two pillars. Two pillars.
Joach and Boachim. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it was often very bones. Inanna's symbol is a ring post made of reed, an ubiquitous building material in Sumer. It was often very boned and positioned at the entrance of temples and marked the limit between the profane and the sacred realms, or the most holy, if you would like to see it that way. There was a cuneiform logogram for Inanna, preceded by the symbol for deity. So she was worshipped. No, she was being worshipped as a deity. Yeah, you see these kind of crossed hands, something like that, of two Gala priests, just before the flood, found in the temple of Inanna. Okay, so in the main cult center was at Inanna temple in Europe, whose names mean house of heaven. Okay, so we know Ishtar is a fabrication, let's say it that way, a fabrication of the people of the cult of the temple in Europe. So that means that she is one of the, or Inanna, Eanna, you see that's the dialect and this and that. You see, this is just one of the oldest worship of pagan idols everywhere. Okay. The original patron deity of this 4th millennium BC city was probably An. You see that An, Inanna, Eanna, and Ishtar, you see that they changed the names from time to time, but there's nothing new under the sun, or under the sun god. Yeah. Yeah. Ishtar rose to become the most important and widely venerated deity in the Assyrian pantheon, surpassing even the Assyrian national god Ashur. Sorry. Yeah, you see that including is it's you see the wife in the Anutu, Anuta, Anunitu. You get your mind twisted around that, and it's absolutely useless to remember everything which has been stated here in Wikipedia. And but now to something more interesting, or as Monty Python would say, now for something completely different. Individuals who went against the traditional gender binary were heavily involved in the cult of Inanna. Oh, ring a bell? We are speaking about 3,000 years before Christ, so 5,000 years ago there were people against the traditional gender binary. You see, this gender agenda is more than 5,000 years old.
Michael, can you say Juneteenth?
What can I say?
You know that in the United States, they just passed a law to make Juneteenth a national holiday. How pathetic.
So it's a rainbow day or something like that. The LGBT.
It's today, actually, isn't it? It's the 19th of June.
19th, yeah, okay.
Isn't that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yes. Gender.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, gender binary is the classification of gender of only two. Yeah. Oh, that's binary. It's B. Yeah. It's a bisexual, like bisexuals. It's B. Yeah. So gender binary, yeah, means you have only two genders. Oh, how that's not enough for this world, huh? We need 60, at least 60 genders. Yeah. So this. Individuals
do as thou wilt. Do what you like.
Do what thou wilt. And these were practiced in the cult of Inanna 5,000 years ago. So don't get me that Lady Gaga is one prominent figure who is now promoting that from scratch.
You mean Lady Gargoyle?
Trade Center, Lady Gaga speaks out for the LGBT and pride community. I don't care about Lady Gaga. May she lead her life. I'm absolutely nothing against Lady Gaga. But the name tells it all. Gaga is also a name of an old Babylonian servant of God. In case you didn't know that. Gaga does not only mean crazy. Gaga means also a pagan god, but you see that I'm not going into Lady Gaga right now. Yeah, but that's the point. You see that these things are very, very old. Look what it says here. Some Sumerian proverbs seem to suggest that Gala had a reputation to engage in anal sex with men. During the Akkadian period, Ku, Gragru, and Asinu were servants of Ishtar who dressed in female clothing and performed war dances in Ishtar's temple. This is the source. Will Roscoe and Murray Stephen in Islamic Homosexualities, Culture, History, and Literature. Huh? What do you say now? Is there something new? Is there something new? And I think that it's no coincidence. I did that session in German already. There was a singer called Divine.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, sorry, but you see, that was Harris Glenn Mister, the actor singer, which was very famous for in the old times for having some hits of his own. He had severe trouble with drugs. Had severe trouble with the truth. I did a session on that thing on LGBT or on these people. But you see that what he did in 1980 was been done 5,000 years ago. Dressed in female clothing and performed war dances in Ishtar temples. Okay. Maybe Divine had not performed war dances, but once again, why does he call himself Divine?
Because he's drunk with the horror of Babylon.
Yeah, you go into his history, you will see that he was also on LSD.
Man.
So several Akkadian proverbs seem to suggest that they may have also had homosexual proclivities. I think that's not far-fetched when you realize what they have done there in the temples. Once again, the people are dressed in the other gender clothes and perform dances. So it's not far-fetched to say that all the agenda out there is happening. That is a celebration of ancient rites. Because it happened there to be in the cult of Inanna 5,000 years ago. Okay? The cult of Ishtar was long thought to have involved sacred prostitution, but this is now rejected among many scholars. Why is that? It's hard to say the truth out there, Brad, but you see that this cult means sacred prostitution means to worship and to be a servant of gods, sacred prostitution. Yeah, well, you see, that has been known, according to the historian Herodotus, known as Ishtaritum, and reported to have worked in Ishtar's temples. But it is unclear if such priestesses actually performed any sex acts, and several modern scholars have argued they did not. Well, I'd say they are incorrect. Remember the picture of the king priest who was naked? Now you get the reason for that. These are sex cults. They happen in a temple, they happen during music, they are dancing, and they are worshipping pagan idols. So it's not far-fetched.
But you see, Michael, it's not politically correct to have this history be known. See? They need to make use of this in a positive way for the benefit of the hierarchy. See, that's what they're doing.
Sure, but you see that the truth is never politically correct. Political correctness has absolutely nothing to do with truth.
Exactly, it's opposed. It's like what we said. Was it in the last session, or this session? Upside down. You know, it's upside down.
Sure, and this world is upside down.
Of course it is. It's wicked as all can be.
Yeah. This is an extraction here of a book from Alexander Hislop, a former priest. He said in the book The Two Babylons that there was a cult of Easter. And actually there is a cult of Easter nowadays. It's not called Ishtar, it's called Easter. He says it's not a Christian name. It bears its Chaldean origin on its very forehead. Easter is nothing else than Astarte, one of the titles of Beltis, the Queen of Heaven, who was pronounced by the people of Nineveh. And you see? Or the name as found as layered on the Assyrian monuments is Ishtar. You see that now. How many names you want to have? It's the same everywhere. You have a male deity depicted by the sun, you have a female deity depicted by the moon. And the names are changing, interchangeable also, but it absolutely means the same. You have a pagan trinity usually, or you have some kind of child somewhere. Yeah. Some have imagined that the Druidical worship was first introduced by the Phoenicians centuries ago, before the Christian era. So it has nothing to do with the Christian Easter fest. And if we have now a Bible study, you see that usually Jörg would claim out that, the Easter passage in the King James Bible just depicts that the captives have been resumed in jail because the ruler wanted to have fun with the virgins during the pagan Easter celebrities, and he's absolutely right. Because Easter is not a Christian celebration. It's interesting that in this word everything is mixed around. There is no Christmas in Christianity and there is no Easter in Christianity. But there is a Sabbath. But people don't hold the Sabbath. But on the other hand, they hold pagan festivities and rites. It's unbelievable. But you see, that is what has been sold as truth in our textbooks. Yeah. You see that if you call it Bel or Beltane from the Druids, or if you call it what else, Moloch, both titles he claims belong to the same god. It's everywhere, and it's the same, and the names are different to impose that there are so many so important gods, and that people get into arguments. Yeah, and if you want to go into or follow that route, then it's a very interesting book I can only recommend by Alexander Hislop. It's called The Two Babylons. Okay. Yeah, because it has been referred in Acts 12. I think that maybe in our Acts sessions, Brett, we have also talked about that subject. I'm quite sure we did. Okay, so this is just a pagan feast for Ishtar. And then when it has been supposed to be a pagan feast, and we know there was a cult of Ishtar, it has something to do with fertility. Where do you think that the rabbits are good for?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and the eggs. Yeah.
Oh, man.
And the eggs, for example, not eggs, but XEGGS. You see, this is a common phrase, a common name for the male genitals. Yeah, the eggs. Yeah, kick him in the eggs. I hope it's not. It does not offend him, but you have to see the point. Mm-hmm. You have to see the point. And Rome just took all the pagan rites and claimed it has something to do with Christianity, which it didn't, because the Easter celebration is variable. Yeah, it's not on the same day, but Jesus Christ did die on one day. It does not vary in every year. It is not a variation of days. It was just one day. You see, there are many things which a man using his leftover brain cells that he knows that is paganism. Yeah, paganism, Christianity, so-called Christianity is now...
Yeah, it has to do with ritual, Michael. Doing the same thing every time, you know.
Yeah.
Ritualistic worship makes me very ill. I'm very sick of it. I think a lot of people are. That's why they don't want to be involved with the church.
Yeah, sure. But you see that you have to go to the flow, not to go for the flow, but you have to look for the truth. And it will not be, it will not come automatically.
No.
You have to look for the truth. It's been hidden in this world under a layer of a layer of a layer of a layer. It's
yes, you have to work at it.
Yeah.
It doesn't come easy, and it requires following a set of principles set forth, especially in the book of Exodus, the commandments given to Moses. It all pieces back together because, you know, Jesus didn't come to destroy the law and the prophets. It says right in the New Testament that he came to fulfill the law and the prophets, not to destroy.
Yeah.
But yet, and the churches, all you get is, oh yeah, well, Jesus nailed all that to the cross, and you know, we don't have to obey the commandments. That's, you just love everyone. Yeah. See, that's what they teach now. You have to love everybody, including those that will, yeah. And never mind. I'm just ranting here.
You see that we can go on and on and on in that line of cults, but you see, this is just one prominent example. Ishtar was being worshipped in a cult, in a temple cult, most probably with prostitution, because she was a fertility deity. And now in our usual Easter celebrations, we incorporate rabbits, we incorporate eggs, yeah, something like that. And it has something to do, more to do with pagan traditions and nothing to do with the death of Christ. Yeah, and the 14 days of Lent has something to do with the crying of Tammuz, which is already, or lamenting of Tammuz, which has already been mentioned in the Bible when people would read the Bible. You see, look at the book here, The Two Babylons, Alexander Hyslop. Here's the page number 74. You can get it also for free on archive.org. Yeah, you see, they have mixed and mingled together everything. Yeah. And you have it in so many religions that they have mingled from this, mingled from that, mixed on this. Yeah, you see, that's why you see it is it's Beltane also comes from Baal. Yeah, you see, you have to make offerings, and I don't want to repeat myself so many times, and I think that's just a good reference here, the two Babylons. Yeah, in Nineveh, her name was Ishtar. Yeah, and from Astarte, in Nineveh was called Ishtar. The religious solemnities of April practice are called by the name of Easter. That month among our pagan ancestors have been called Easter Monat. Huh? Under the name of Easter, yes, yeah, yeah, and we are having the Pascha festivities, but or Passover, yeah, where Pascha comes from, Passover, and it has nothing to do with the Easter celebration. And you see that there's so many things mixed up for people who are so superficial and said, "Oh, yo, now I know it. I go to Wikipedia, I know." No. You have to compare your sources. You have to clean out the dirt.
Yeah. The truth. Well, that's the whole purpose, Michael, is to purify the faith, you know.
Yeah.
And we have to sift through the dirt to do that. We have to uncover, you know, what's been buried under layers and layers and layers, like we were speaking of before. It's nothing new under the sun, but it is hidden. It is not out there in the open, because what's out in the open is a lie. That's all you get is lies. Yeah. What do you expect? It's the chief liar in the world. Oh, look at this. We have the sign of Anu above the priest head there.
Oh, no, Brett. This is the 8-pointed star, and it was Inanna's or Ishtar's most common symbol. You don't think that Wikipedia tells you what that symbol also means. You see, this is the star of Ishtar, the 8-pointed star. Wasn't it the morning star in the beginning? What Wikipedia told us that the pagan believed in? That was the morning star. So that was a bright star.
The star of the Knights of Malta.
It will get much worse. You see, that comes. That quote comes from Jeremy Black and Anthony Green of Gods, Demons, and Symbols of Ancient Mesopotamia. Interesting title, huh? Demons. Demons are fallen angels. Yeah, these are servants to Satan. These are demons, or servant to evil spirits, or evil spirits themselves are called demons. Demons actually means devils, but it's also a Greek translation, if I remember correctly, in Esau.
So here it says the 8-pointed star is Ishtar, not Anu.
Yeah, sure. You have to take all the glory away from God.
Sure.
What do you expect?
Of course.
It's not working at the moment. Okay.
Glory goes to Ishtar when you
Yeah, sure.
set yourself in front of the pagan idols. Yeah.
When you don't have any spiritual items or truth, you have to take everything which is in the material world. You see that's why witches and sorcerers have to deal with matter. Yeah. You have to have an element, you have to have this, and you have to have this. Otherwise, you cannot do anything. You see that?
Okay, I have to let that sink in. The 8-pointed star was Inanna's / Ishtar's most common symbol.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, Michael.
Yeah. If you are worshiping a star, that also makes also a statement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In other words, worshiping a fallen angel.
Yeah. Here it is shown alongside the solar disk of her brother, Shamash, Sumerian Utu, and the crescent moon of her father Sin. Sun and moon worship. Sun, moon, and the stars. Everything together. We are worshipping everything we see. Yeah? We're not worshipping spirit. We are worshipping everything we see in the heaven. Sure.
Because the priest has deemed it so.
Yeah, the high priests and the people who know.
Oh, look, he's sitting on a chair.
Yeah, sure, he's ruling as a ruler. Yeah, he is on top.
What's that little obelisk in front of him all about?
Yeah.
Looks like it's got one of them swirly hats on the top, like they show in the what was it now, Michael? That famous declaration of rights there they came up with after the French Revolution. Same thing.
Oh, they had
like a spear with a little red hat on top of it.
Oh, there was also a big amount of laws in Babylon. Yeah, it's called the table of
Yeah.
Hammurabi. Yeah, Hammurabi it was. Huh. Yeah. Was so the ruler made the rules for the ordinary people. Yeah. Now you see they have sun worship, moon worship, and the worship of stars and the worship of everything which is visible because it is pleasant to the eyes.
Right.
And her father, the crescent moon of her father, Sin. Interesting name, huh? But you see that just coincidence. On a boundary stone dating to the 12th century before Christ. This is way before the Babylonian captivity. Can you imagine what the Jews, quote unquote, did in ancient Babylon when they were in captivity? What are or whom they are worshipping? Pagan gods. It's the same it's been said about Solomon. You see it everywhere around. And you compare that with the flag, with the Islamic flag. Huh? Interesting, huh? The pentagram.
It looks like the same flag for Turkey, only green and white in the background instead of red with the white star and a white crescent.
Sure.
Very interesting.
Yeah, the crescent moon of her father's Sin, a Sumerian Inanna. These symbols are much older than Islam. I'm not offending anybody, but you see that the crescent moon is not exclusively for Islam. But you see that would be leading us much way our track here. We will go into the symbolism of everything. Yeah? Lions were one of Inanna's or Ishtar's primary symbols. The lion above comes from the Ishtar gate.
Oh, yes, I've used an image of this recently.
Yeah, the 8th gate to the inner city of Babylon, which was constructed in around 575 before Christ under the orders of Nebuchadnezzar II.
Isn't that something?
This was an image where what the Israelites were looking at when they were in captivity. And now it's quite clear because you see that when Jesus Christ appeared, you can calculate for yourself when the Israelites were in captivity in Babylon, huh?
I don't have the exact dates now. You see that Jörg is far more better in remembering these topics, but you see that I am there to combine everything and just to compare the things and then to find out the things on our way here. You see, nowadays it's been in an exhibition in a German museum in Berlin, in the Pergamon Museum, where they have also the seat of Satan displayed there. Great.
Right. Yeah.
And now we get to a more recent example. Inanna's Ishtar's most common symbol was the 8-pointed star, though the exact number of points sometimes varies. Okay, the most prominent was the 8-pointed star. Just I have to get rid of that picture here, but the one temple seat of Satan. I would not recommend anybody to live in Berlin because this is a seat of Satan here. Because I think that Berlin is not a great place to live when there are so many occult symbolism. Yeah. Okay, so that's Inanna's most common symbol was the 8-pointed star. I have a fairly recent example for you. This is Mrs. Janet Jackson with her wardrobe malfunction. Yeah, wearing a star of Ishtar. I hope it does not offend anybody, but to make the point very clear, these cults are happening, these things are happening out in the open, but people don't get it. Yeah, this was a ritual. The 8-pointed star seems to have originally borne a general association with the heavens, but by the Old Babylonian period, it had come to be specially associated with the planet Venus. This is Roman gods. Yeah, and also the planet Venus has been named after the Roman goddess of love and fertility, with which Ishtar was identified. Yeah, and then you have the transit of Venus, which has 5 what is it? Not fixed points. 5 stationary periods, and these stationary periods they usually will then make up a pentagram. That's why the pentagram is also a symbol of Venus. Yeah, and the Church of Satan also has that pentagram of Venus, or the 5-pointed star, as their prominent symbol. Okay, so when Venus is the same as Inanna Ishtar, and they bear the 8-pointed star, and Mrs. Jackson wears that nipple symbol, it has to be for some purpose. Yeah, it was just it was supposed to happen. Yeah, and so that she was having that kind of makeup and or item jewelry. Yeah, it has something to do with the cult of Ishtar. So it was a fertility rite out in the open, before the eyes of millions of Americans, at least. It's that easy, but people don't know anything about symbolism and of history. And history is very, very important. The second symbol of Inanna, Ishtar, Astarte, and every other name was a ideogram, a hook-shaped twist of knots. You see, this is could remind you of some clothing. Yeah, a symbol of fertility. Once again, we are speaking of fertility. And what's the female breast? It's a symbol of fertility. It is doch very, 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 very easy, huh? It is very, very easy, actually. Everything is connected to the old pagan gods, but just other names. What Venus is in Roman is Aphrodite in Greek, and even other Greek deities, female deities. And it's the same with Inanna, Astarte, Ishtar, and all the other names. Yeah, of a goddess, life-size statue of a goddess, probably Ishtar holding a vase from Syria. Syria. Yeah, you see that naked breast, holding a breast. It's fertility rites.
I think the reason for fertility rites is that man himself proclaims to be the creator of life. Yeah, when male and female get together, and a child has been born, usually father and mother are under the impression and under the belief that they were the creator of life. But that is not the Christian way to think it. Inanna was not the goddess of marriage, nor she was ever viewed as a mother goddess. Yeah, you see, it's just fertility has nothing to do with motherhood. What does that mean? Do what thou wilt. It's just about having fun, doing sexual activities, or temple prostitution. It had nothing to do with a loving family, Brett. Nothing.
No, of course not.
Yeah?
Of course not. Far from the truth.
Yeah. The Epic of Gilgamesh points out Ishtar's infamous ill treatments of her lovers. You see, it's just for their own purpose. It's just for their own purpose. And there are so many artists who are into this. It's absolutely unbelievable. And more unbelievable is that usually the children who are affected by that, they don't have absolutely no clue. They have no clue of the Bible, and they have also no clue about anything else. At least not any clue about pagan trinities or pagan fertility rites. They found it all great, and yeah. You see, also Lilith is the same, supposed to be the first wife of Adam, which is a blatant lie. And Lilith resembles the same statues as Ishtar did. Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And in the later biblical story of Adam and Eve, you see how profane that is. Yeah. They always claim that the Babylonian writings are much more older than the Bible. Yeah. You see, these are claims. Yeah, in the later biblical story, to give the impression, Brad, that the Bible has been written after these pagan scribes. Yeah? Yeah. And if you remember that it has something to do with these epic tales, which are pointing out in the Babylonian period, you see this Ishtar's descent into the underworld. What is the underworld? The underworld is Hades, or the underworld is hell. Yeah, the grave. Actually, hell means the grave. If I remember correctly from
that sounds right.
Depiction of Inanna, of course, must be a goddess who has wings. Why does she have wings? Huh? And of course, naked breasts. Huh? And also a pyramid downside, which is the female pyramid. It's the female part of the hexagram, actually. Okay, so it's just as above, so below. It's a head. It's every time the same.
Oh,
if you worship a deity which never has existed, she has something to do with heaven and hell, or above as below. And you see that's the Pontifex Maximus. That's the bridge builder. Also, these pagan deities, when they come down to mankind, where people think that the Greek reside on the Olympus.
Well, that seems to make perfect sense, because it's a sex cult. So what do they want to do? They want to take you and make you an idolater, make you a fornicator and an adulterer. Let's just give you the whole works. Just disobey every commandment there ever was.
Yeah.
So how about thou shalt not covet? Never mind that.
And look how unlovely they are. I shall raise up the dead and shall eat the living. Yeah, that's Ishtar approaching the gates to the underworld. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The gatekeeper is the gatekeeper of the underworld. It's interesting if you call somebody a gatekeeper. Huh?
Wow, talk about being opposite of the scripture, Michael. Go back there with the red there for a second. If you do not open the gate for me to come in, I shall smash the door and shatter the bolt. I shall smash the doorpost. Sounds like someone's a little upset here.
Yeah, Inanna has been said as being also for the morning star for war.
And the dead shall outnumber the living. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, spiritually, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. Spiritually, it is, again, turning upside down the scriptures.
Yeah. Yeah, and now look at that. Yeah. This is
we all know this one.
Yeah, this is the owl. And this is the ankh. And these are the female breasts. I don't have to explain that. These are the wings of, for example, fallen angels. And this is the actual picture of the Peter Gabriel session of Lilith, of the so-called deity of the first wife of Adam, supposed to be, which is untrue, demanding child sacrifices. Mm-hmm. And they are using absolutely the same picture for one, Ishtar, and the other, Lilith. It's the same. Type in Ishtar, Lilith, and you will see the same pictures. Has nothing to do. This is copied from the Peter Gabriel script. Yeah, Illuminati, wisdom, old wisdom, and nothing to do with wisdom. These are evil messengers.
Yeah, talk about graven images, eh?
Yeah, Illuminati used the owl. Those used the owl. Yes, but I know somebody who has used the owl thousands of years before, and this was the cult of Inanna or Ishtar. No. Yeah, I just copied here from the Peter Gabriel script that you really see that everything is connected.
Ah, yes.
And this is no coincidence here. He's not scratching his nose, by the way.
Having a drink with your buddies there.
Sure. Bohemian Club in San Francisco, yes. It's Acropolis, Athenian owl. Sorry, not oil, owl. It's every time the same. It's every time the same. Yeah, spiders don't come in here. There's also a story of a spider, but just let us finish that. Yeah, you see that here. It is from the Peter Gabriel script. Yeah. Terracotta thought to be Inanna Lilith. This is from the original Peter Gabriel script I copied into that. Yeah. It's every time and everything is the same. It's just another name. Just another name. And people actually are totally unaware of the meaning of symbolism. This is the owl in the dollar bill on the greenback. Yeah. These horns are very interesting. Yeah, symbol of the Freemasons, not them alone. Vatican owl. You see that?
Oh, yes.
We go back to the Peter Gabriel
United
script.
States.
Yeah, the owl is not what they see, because the owl is just the evil messenger. Yeah. Epic of Gilgamesh. Yeah, you see? Ishtar appears to Gilgamesh after he and his companion Enkidu have returned to Uruk from defeating the Ogre Humbaba. And blah, 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 blah. Huh? You see what is going about? You see that even then we go back to Peter Gabriel. It's every time the same. Yeah. And also this account later of the creation myth, there's a high tide creation myth that Ishtar is born after the god Kumarbi overthrows his father Anu. Yeah, he bites off Anu's genitals and swallows them. You see that. Go back to the teaching of Kronos and Uranus, and you know where all these pagan gods are worshipped today, because our planets are being called after pagan gods. Mars, Venus, Mercurius, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. They are called after Roman gods. And nobody takes notice, Brett.
Uh-huh.
Yeah? Later became the basis of the Greek story of Uranus' castration by his son Kronos. And Kronos is the Greek name of Saturn, resulting in the birth of Aphrodite. Etc., etc., etc. And speaking of etc., I think it's time to end that session. We will go into the second part of the cult of Ishtar and Inanna or Ashtoreth or Ishtar or Ashtaroth. And and every time you go into that, you see that even today, these cults are alive, still alive and kicking. In the 21st century, nothing has changed. And what happened? For Christ's sake, or for heaven's sake, better terms, don't want to use the word Christ in vain. Sorry. What happened to our society that we still follow these cults because everybody, majority does it, and so it must be right. Yeah? So it was introduced to the kingdom of Judah during the reign of King Manasseh, and although Inanna herself is not directly mentioned in the Bible by name, the Old Testament contains numerous allusions to her cult. He mentions the Queen of Heaven, who is probably a syncretism of Inanna, Ishtar, and the West Semitic goddess Astarte, the Queen of Heaven. Yeah. More to the Queen of Heaven and more of the Bible and more about Is Science the New Religion in the next upcoming session. Thank you very much for having me. I hope it was of some kind of interest for you. Handing it over to my beloved brother Brett.
Yeah, Michael, that's quite profane what we're going through today, because it's, we see it everywhere. We're being completely surrounded by this garbage our whole lives, and then we get to be a little older and we start putting this together, and this doesn't really make sense. Why is it the way it is? But Michael, when you say that these so-called planets are named after Roman gods, it is of no surprise at all, because we're living in the Roman age. Rome never changes. She never has. She never will. It's her motto, semper eadem. And it continues. It will continue. There's no way to stop it, no matter how angry and upset you are. You just have to live with it. You have to endure through it. And I think that's what we're trying to bring forth, Michael, is that we're going to suffer. And that's obvious, especially when we recognize the Roman story, because Rome's on the rise. It's not going to fall until Christ returns. And we know that we got a long way to go yet. We're just at the beginning. But I think now we're entering the 20th year of the World Trade Center September 11th attacks. It's coming up on the 20th anniversary this year. So I think the truth is finally coming to the surface, and people just can't quite fathom it because, Michael, it's quite a big pill to swallow. It's very painful. So I think it was earlier in the session just now I had mentioned the book Catholicism East of Eden by Richard Bennett. Mm-hmm. And I just want to quick read to you what it says in the back. Just to
let me show you the picture of it.
Please. Yeah, it says on the very back, I'm just going to read the first 3 paragraphs. All human beings want to approach God in a way that pleases themselves. This is no surprise. We are all proud and self-righteous, and by nature disobedient to the revealed will of God. That was the ancient problem Cain had faced when he went from the presence of God to live east of Eden. And it continues to be the moral struggle of the 21st century. Always what is most needed in such a struggle is an unquenchable desire to possess and to be possessed by the truth. Let me read that again. I kind of butchered it. Always what is most needed in such a struggle is an unquenchable desire to possess and to be possessed by the truth. How come, or how is it that Catholicism east of Eden, or how is Catholicism east of Eden? Worldwide interest in all things Catholic mixes with consternation over recent disclosures within the church. Amidst doctrinal and moral confusion, most issues remain unanalyzed and unexplained, leaving both Catholics and non-Catholics wondering where the Roman Catholic Church stands. This book will leave no doubt about the truthful answer. In Catholicism East of Eden, the author has endeavored to address the 21st century issues of Catholicism with candor and empathy. Each topic is carefully documented so that the reader who wishes to know for certain if what is written here is true can easily find the information. Here is a book that speaks to both mind and heart. Yeah, so I want to just quick say a word of thanks to all those researchers out there, and looking forward to next time, Michael, when we get deeper into the session of Science, the New Religion. And we'll catch you next time. Maranatha.